Ethan, a 12-year-old boy, often spent his afternoons watching the abandoned house next to his own. The building, with its broken windows and walls covered in vines, seemed to carry a mystery that inexplicably drew him in. He always felt a mix of curiosity and paralyzing fear that kept him from getting too close. What happened there? He wondered, as his eyes fixed on the dilapidated structure. The kids in town often told stories about the house, saying it was haunted, but Ethan never put much stock in those legends. One night, as the rain pounded against the roof, Ethan curled up under the covers in his room. The storm made the lightning flash through the darkness, and it was in that moment that he saw it. In the window of the house next door stood the silhouette of a girl, staring directly at him. Ethan's heart raced, and he froze, unsure if he was dreaming or truly seeing this. It's just a trick of the light, he tried to convince himself, but the figure remained there, motionless. "Who are you?" he whispered, but the girl did not respond. She looked so real, yet so distant. The next morning, with the events of the night still echoing in his mind, Ethan found his best friend Jake at school. "Jake, you won't believe what I saw last night," he exclaimed, a mix of excitement and fear in his voice. Jake laughed, shaking his head. "Oh, Ethan, you and your stories. What was it this time? A ghost? A witch?" The teasing tone in Jake's voice didn't lessen Ethan's determination. "Seriously, Jake. There was a girl in the window of the abandoned house. We need to investigate." Jake's expression changed, and he crossed his arms, thoughtful. "Okay, let's go. But if we don't find anything, you owe me a snack." Both knew that curiosity was stronger than fear, and so the two friends decided they needed more than just rumors and laughter. An adventure was about to begin. Ethan and Jake stood in front of the abandoned house, their hearts pounding in their chests. The beam from Ethan's flashlight flickered, illuminating the creaking door that stood ajar, swaying slightly in the wind. "Let's go," Ethan said, trying to hide the nervousness in his voice. Jake nodded, equally anxious, but with a glint of adventure in his eyes. They crossed the garden, where weeds grew as if trying to hide the house's secrets. With every step, the sound of their boots sinking into the wet earth echoed like a warning. Upon entering the house, the smell of mold and rotting wood enveloped them, making them cough. The darkness was thick, and the flashlight only illuminated a small area ahead. "Look at this," Jake said, pointing to a sofa covered by a dusty blanket. "It looks like no one has touched it in years." Ethan agreed, but his attention soon shifted to the staircase leading to the upper floor. A strange feeling washed over him, as if someone was watching. He turned to Jake. "Don't you feel that? Like someone is here?" Jake shrugged, trying to shake off the fear. "It's just your imagination, Ethan. Let's explore." They began to wander through the rooms, finding covered furniture and dusty portraits on the walls. The atmosphere was heavy, almost oppressive. Ethan tried to ignore the growing feeling that they were not alone. As they moved further down the hallway, a soft whisper cut through the silence. "Did you hear that?" Ethan asked, stopping abruptly. Jake looked at him, confused. "What did you hear?" It sounded like someone was talking. Coming from upstairs. Curiosity took over, and they began to climb the stairs, the steps creaking beneath their feet. When they reached the upper floor, a cold breeze swept down the hallway, making the hair on Ethan's arms stand on end. Suddenly, the front door slammed shut with a bang, echoing through the corridor. "Jake! The door!" Ethan shouted, but it was too late. The door had locked, trapping them inside the house. They exchanged worried glances, fear now evident on their faces. "We need to get out of here," Jake said, his voice trembling. But as they tried to open the door, they realized there was no way out. The whisper grew louder, as if something or someone was calling them. Ethan, now paralyzed by a mix of fear and curiosity, turned to Jake. "We have to find out what's going on. We need to see this through." Jake hesitated, but Ethan's determination made him agree. "Okay, but if anything seems off, we're running." The two ventured deeper into the house, drawn by the whispering voice that seemed to promise answers. What they found there, however, was beyond anything they could imagine. Ethan and Jake climbed the creaking stairs, each step echoing in the silent house. The air was heavy, and a strange feeling of apprehension hung between them. Upon reaching the top floor, they found a narrow corridor, illuminated only by the light from their flashlights. As they moved forward, Ethan felt a presence, as if something was watching them. At the end of the corridor, a door opened into a dusty room. "Look at this," Ethan exclaimed, pointing to the wall covered with framed photographs. They approached, and Jake pulled out one photo in particular. It was an image of a smiling family, but what caught Ethan's attention was the girl in the window, wearing the same dress he had seen in the silhouette. "It's her. It's the girl in the window," Ethan said, his voice trembling with emotion. "Do you really think it's her?" Jake asked, a bit skeptical, but curiosity was written all over his face. "I think we need to find out more about this family. Look here," Ethan continued, examining the photos. The caption says Clara, the joy of the family. He felt a knot form in his throat. What if she's trapped here, Jake? What if this is all real? As they discussed, a cold wind blew through the broken window, causing the papers and the photos to flutter. "Let's investigate more," Jake suggested, his voice firmer now. They began to examine other objects in the room, but soon realized they were not alone. A child's laughter echoed down the corridor. "Jake, did you hear that?" Ethan asked, his eyes wide. The laughter continued, as if a child was playing nearby. "We need to get out of here," Jake said, nervously. "This isn't normal." But as they tried to open the door, they found it locked from the inside. The tension escalated. Adrenaline surged through Ethan's veins. "What do we do now?" he asked, his voice nearly failing. "We have to find another way out," Jake replied, looking around. "But we need to stick together. Let's see if the window is open." With their hearts racing and the feeling of being watched intensifying, the two boys began searching for a way to escape as the children's laughter grew louder, resonating through the corridor, as if an ominous invitation was being extended. The darkness of the attic enveloped Ethan and Jake like a heavy blanket. The smell of mildew and the sound of the wind whispering through the broken window made the atmosphere even more oppressive. With their flickering flashlights, they moved cautiously among the old toys, which seemed to watch their every step. The sound of a scratch on the wooden floor made Ethan stop abruptly. "Did you hear that?" Ethan whispered, his voice almost inaudible in the silence. "Yes, but we can't just stand here. We have to find a way out," Jake replied, trying to keep calm, although his voice trembled slightly. As they walked, an old doll with glass eyes that seemed to follow them fell from a dusty shelf. The noise echoed through the attic and made Ethan scream, a cry that reverberated off the rusty walls. "It was just a doll. There's no reason to be scared like that." Jake tried to laugh, but the nervousness in his voice was evident. The childish laughter began to intensify, as if several children were playing right next to them. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "Jake, this isn't normal. We need to get out of here. Calm down, let's look for a window or something that can help us," Jake said, trying to be rational. They moved toward a door that seemed to lead to a hallway, but just before they could reach it, the laughter morphed into a disturbing echo, filling the space with a supernatural energy. "It's like it's all around us," Ethan whispered, panic beginning to overtake his thoughts. Finally, a glimmer of light caught their attention. A window, almost covered in dust and cobwebs, was slightly ajar. With renewed hope, they rushed toward it. As they reached it, they felt a fresh breeze that seemed to promise freedom. "Here. Let's get out through here," Ethan exclaimed, but when they got closer, Clara's silhouette appeared in the opposite window, her figure surrounded by an ethereal aura. She was closer than ever. "You can't leave," her voice echoed softly, like a melancholic whisper, but with an authoritative tone that made the boys hesitate. Her smile was no longer innocent, but a mix of sadness and mystery, as if she knew something they could not comprehend. "Clara, we just want to go home," Jake shouted, the tension in his voice betraying his fear. But the girl merely observed, her eyes shining with their own light, as the laughter transformed into a distant lament, enveloping the attic in an atmosphere of despair and mystery. Ethan and Jake, still panting and with their hearts racing, sat at a table in the town library, surrounded by piles of dusty books and ancient documents. The dim light from the hanging lamp illuminated their worried faces. With an air of determination, Ethan flipped through a record book, while Jake focused on a folder full of newspaper clippings. "Look at this, Ethan," Jake exclaimed, pointing to a yellowed article. "It says Clara's family was accused of witchcraft. That can't be true, can it?" Ethan stared at the headline, his stomach churning. If it's true, that would explain a lot. People used to fear what they didn't understand. And Clara was just a child. Jake furrowed his brow. But what if it's not just that? The house caught fire the same night she disappeared. What happened to her? And why has no one ever found her? With that question echoing in his mind, Ethan recalled the silhouette of the girl in the window. "We need to go back. We have to find out what really happened that night." Jake hesitated, glancing at the open book in front of him. "What if it's dangerous? We've already gotten into enough trouble for one day." "I know," Ethan said, his voice steady. "But we can't leave it like this. Clara needs us. And if she's trapped there, we have to help her." After a moment of silence, Jake nodded, resigned. "All right, let's go. But we need to be careful. What if she's not who we think she is?" Night fell quickly as the boys made their way to the house. The path seemed longer than the last time, and every shadow around them appeared to come alive. When they arrived, they noticed something strange. The front door was ajar, swaying slightly in the cold wind. "This is unusual," Jake murmured, looking around with suspicion. "Are you sure we should go in? Clara might be waiting for us," Ethan replied, feeling a mix of fear and anticipation. "She needs help." With a deep sigh, the two friends crossed the threshold. The interior of the house was shrouded in an unsettling gloom. The echoes of their voices seemed to get lost in the heavy air, and a sensation that something was watching them began to invade Ethan's mind. "Ethan, do you really think she's here?" Jake asked, his voice trembling slightly. "I hope so," Ethan replied, already sensing the familiar presence of the girl. "We need to uncover the truth." As they advanced, a soft whisper swept through the air, as if the house were alive, calling them to unveil its dark secrets. The atmosphere in the abandoned house was dense and oppressive, a chill that penetrated Ethan and Jake's bones. Shadows danced on the peeling walls, while the beam of the flashlight barely illuminated the path ahead of them. The silhouette of Clara appeared again, but this time, her smile was distorted, as if hiding a deep pain. Her once bright eyes now seemed empty and filled with despair. "Ethan. Jake." Clara's voice echoed in the air, soft but urgent. "Please, I need your help." "Help? How can we help you?" Ethan asked, his voice trembling. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also a growing doubt about the girl's intentions. Clara stepped forward, her features appearing darker. My soul is trapped in this house. You are the only ones who can free me. Please, set me free. Jake looked at Ethan, a look of distrust forming on his face. What if this is a trap, Ethan? We can't trust her, he said, his tone laced with concern. But she's just a girl, Ethan responded, trying to justify the connection he felt with Clara. She needs us. Clara tilted her head, a flash of sadness crossing her face. You don't understand. I'm not just a girl. I was abandoned, betrayed. And now, my pain has turned into revenge. If you don't help me, I will be forced to make you feel the same way I felt. Clara's transformation was instant and terrifying. Her figure warped, her pale skin turning gray, and her eyes becoming dark voids. The walls of the house seemed to pulse around her, and a supernatural wind began to blow, causing objects nearby to move. Ethan. Jake screamed, desperate as he tried to pull his friend away. But it was too late. Clara advanced, and the darkness of the house stretched out, almost as if it were alive, swallowing Ethan. No! Jake shouted, reaching out in an attempt to grasp Ethan, but darkness closed in around him, and soon, the boy vanished into the gloom. The echo of Ethan's scream resonated through the house, mingling with distant laughter and whispers of a lost childhood. Now, Jake was alone, surrounded by shadows and the menacing presence of Clara, who looked at him with a smile that promised nothing good. The true story of Clara and her curse was about to be revealed, and Jake knew he needed to act quickly, or he could be the next one consumed by the darkness that enveloped the house.
Leave your comment and subscribe to the channel. Enjoy and see other stories on the channel. See you in the next story, if you dare.